After weeks of desperate diplomacy amid a relentless Russian military build-up, President Vladimir Putin has finally made his move, attacking Ukraine. Russian war jets are spearheading the assault with airstrikes in border regions and close to the capital, Kiev. In a television address, Putin painted Russia the victim and Ukraine the aggressor, while warning foreign interference would lead to a terrible retaliation by Moscow. Europe correspondent Kari-Anne Greenbank is in Ukraine and begins our coverage.
Ukraine waking to war. In the capital Kiev, blasts break the night sky and sirens sound as Russia begins its invasion, launching airstrikes at targets across the country. A missile hitting an airport in western Ukraine, while at an aerodrome in the south, a man points to the destruction, saying there's a crater behind me still smoking. The streets out of Kiev choked with cars as families escape, heeding the warning calls.
You might be able to hear that siren now, actually. So as well as the explosions, we've got a siren that has just started. It's been a really surreal morning, actually.
While residents try to get out, tanks roll in from the Belarus border. Sparked by words the world had been nervously awaiting,
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции.
Vladimir Putin, in a televised address, announcing his decision to conduct a special military operation in Ukraine's Donbass region. The aim, he said, to protect its people from genocide and to stop the Nazification of Ukraine, with this chilling warning for Ukrainian soldiers.
В том числе и граждан Российской Федерации.
We urge you to lay down arms immediately and go home. Russia's response will be immediate and lead you to such consequences that you have never faced in your history. The Russian president pulling the trigger as the United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting, imploring him not to.
I have only one thing to say from the bottom of my heart. President Putin, stop your troops from attacking the Ukraine. Give peace a chance. Too many people have already died.
Ambassadors from the US and UK also making urgent pleas.
This is a perilous moment, and we're here for one reason and one reason only: to ask Russia to stop, return to your borders, send your troops and your tanks and your planes back to their barracks and hangars.
We are here tonight to call on Russia to avert war.
Earlier this evening, Ukraine's president revealed he had called Mr. Putin.
Результат – тишина.
The result was silence, he said. Speaking in Russian and directly addressing the people of Russia, Volodymyr Zelensky made an 11th-hour plea of his own.
Россия не хочет.
If the Russian leaders don't want to sit with us behind the table for the sake of peace, maybe they will sit behind the table with you.
Вам говорят, что Украина может.
And when you will be attacking us, you will see our faces, not our backs. But the appeal fell on deaf ears. A couple of hours later, the Ukrainian leader recording this video,
President Putin оголосив проведення
saying the country was launching its own defensive measures and urging people to stay calm and stay home. Police are now clearing the streets, those who have nowhere to go taking shelter in underground metro stations.
Europe correspondent Kari-Anne Greenbank is in Kiev, Ukraine. Kari, we heard those sirens going off around you. What is happening on the ground now as we join you?
Well, Melissa, earlier we had those air raid sirens. Before that, we had the explosions in the distance. Just a few moments ago, we've had the national anthem blaring out across Independence Square behind us. Blatant patriotism in the face of what really is frightening time for Ukrainians. Now, the Ukrainian army is saying that Russia has bombed 6 of its airports, including the international airport here in Kiev. Russia is saying that it has taken out Ukrainian air bases, but that is yet to be confirmed by the Ukrainian government. President Zelensky says he is about to impose martial law in the country as the EU and now the UK is warning of unprecedented sanctions. Melissa?
Kari, thank you. We'll go live to Canberra and Nine's political editor Chris Uhlmann. Chris, Prime Minister Scott Morrison has just spoken, announcing more sanctions against Russia. Is there much more that he can do?
Melissa, the Prime Minister said this is a chilling reminder of the world we live in, but in truth there's very little the Australian government can do beyond joining the chorus of international condemnation and adding its weight to the raft of sanctions aimed at Russia. Tougher measures are planned, but how tough depends on how much pain Europe is prepared to bear, where countries like Germany are heavily dependent on Russian gas. If the West doesn't go hard and doesn't act as one, some in our defence and intelligence establishment fear it will send a powerful message to our region, where another autocracy, China, also has long-standing territorial demands. As war returns to Europe, Australia again watches in horror.
I'll call it what it is. The Russian government launched a brutal invasion.
The Prime Minister spoke of the images that have shocked the world.
The footage that is emerging of missile strikes, air raid sirens and reports of hundreds of casualties, yet unconfirmed, are sadly not surprising.
The Assistant Defence Minister says the world order is being challenged and Australia needs to harden its defences.
Australia needs to be strong in the future, particularly with the rise of authoritarian powers like China and Russia.
Moscow's man in Canberra isn't answering questions.
Ambassador, have you got time? What is your response? What's the Kremlin's response to Australia's sanctions?
As the Prime Minister and Governor-General signed off on measures that target high-ranking officials in Vladimir Putin's regime.
This goes direct to those individuals who are at the heart of this bullying and aggressive behaviour. It targets their financial interests. It prevents them from travelling. It stops them from moving money around.
The Russian embassy did respond in a statement saying Canberra has played its part in supporting and encouraging the xenophobic bullies based in Kiev. People in these republics face the imminent threat of ethnic cleansing by the Kiev authorities. The decision by Russia will not be reverted.
They're not peacekeepers, they're invaders. And that's how we see it, and we'll call it out. And if they don't like it, that's tough.
There is a united front in Australia.
We call upon Russia once again to back off and comply with international law.
There was little expectation sanctions would prevent the invasion, but the Prime Minister says they are essential.
There must be consequences for violent, coercive and bullying behaviour.
Now, tougher measures will follow.
To an additional 25 persons. This includes army commanders, deputy defence ministers and Russian mercenaries who have been responsible for the unprovoked and unacceptable aggression.
Sanctions will inflict financial hardship on Russia, but it pales beside the pain Vladimir Putin is inflicting in Eastern Europe today.
As Mr. Putin said, he is not going to occupy Ukraine, but it looks like he might just destroy Ukraine.
This is a chilling reminder of the world that we live in.
Chris Ullman, 9 News.